Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and in studio with me today is a phenomenal lady that I've had the pleasure of meeting. She is the mastermind behind the Tierra PR network. She is about women empowerment. She's about pouring into the lives of anybody that she can touch on any platform that is permitted for her to stand on. She's a woman of God, and she's just allowing God to use her in a mighty and magnificent way. So, without delay, let me please take the pleasure, the honor, the privilege to introduce to you Miss Tierra Tucker. Tierra, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is quite an honor. So I'm looking forward to today's segment.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, with that said, before we do jump into our segment for today, I do, of course, want to take this opportunity to give you a chance to share with the audience a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what do you do, and anything else that you'd like to share with the audience to just give them a taste of who is Tierra Tucker.
Yes, yes. Well, again, thank you for the intro. So, my name is Tierra Tucker. I consider myself to be a little girl from Kankakee, Illinois, south of Chicago. I was born and raised there. I went off to college at Illinois State University, where I received my bachelor's degree in public relations, my master's degree in communication. And then from there, I went on to corporate America, where I explored an 18-year career working in communications, public affairs, and corporate responsibility. So I actually use my degree, as a lot of my friends say. I've always been one that who love to empower people, educate people, make people think deeper, bring people together, connect people, celebrate people. And so I really feel like over the past decades of my life, I've been walking in my purpose even before I even knew what walking in my purpose meant. So here I am now living in Dallas, Texas. I was relocated here by the company that I was working for back in 2012. And I just really was enjoying my journey in Dallas, living in a big city. And then I slowly started introducing, I would say, the Dallas area to my babies, which is my business, Tierra PR Network, as well as my nonprofit and other efforts. So here we are today, and I'm chatting with you. We'll talk more about everything else throughout the interview.
Well, that is absolutely wonderful. Again, I know you've been doing some great works, and you took a big leap of faith, which I am going to ask you a little bit about. Where you said you had your corporate America lifestyle. I'm sure you were. I know for a fact you were experiencing great success in that role. 18 years in, and then you finally said, you know what, it's time for me to transition from the career to the calling. To go all in to as you say, and I took a little bite of a saying that you were faithing it until you're making it, and I love that. When I saw that, I was like, that's perfect. We gonna ride on that. With that said, I do want to, of course, get a little bit more in depth. Background about you, and particularly your beginnings of your journey. When we think about your upbringing back in Kankakee, Illinois, and of course I'm originally from Chicago, so I'm very familiar with the area that you grew up in, and so I know about the Midwest life, and it's definitely very different than it is here in Texas. But it's a blessing. We had a reason for in our respective lives to come here, and God is making moves accordingly in our respective paths. So, with that said, if you would please share with us, what was it like for you? Kind of take us back to that time of your upbringing, fond memories that you have about your upbringing, as well as if there was any challenges that you were up against during that time. Kind of give the audience a little bit more in depth viewpoint for those who may not be familiar with what it's like to grow up in the area that you grew up in. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so again, born and raised in Kankakee, Illinois. I know you all are like, how do you spell that? How do you pronounce it? Well, repeat after me, Kankakee. No, no. So we don't have a whole lot of claim to fame, meaning people know us from being south of Chicago. And don't let us say Chicago or south side of Chicago, okay? South of Chicago. Also, we're known for the Kankakee River. We're known for our neighboring city, Bourbonnais, which is where the Chicago Bears are trained for many, many years. I'm actually not sure if they still train there or not, but they trained there for many, many, many years. But Kankakee, that's where my mother was born and raised, all of her siblings. That's where my grandparents migrated from Mississippi to Kankakee, Illinois. So, in case people aren't familiar with that migration, a lot of folks came from Mississippi to places like Chicago and the surrounding areas back in the day. So, I grew up with a single mom. My dad was around, he was a part of my life. And then my stepfather, who I will call my father, he came into my life when I was around 12. So I've always grew up being very independent and self sufficient, watching my mom, who was just, a working mom, doing her thing, raising me and my sister. And so always around the family, Sunday dinners at grandma's house, all that good stuff. And I was always very active in school. So I was the girl who was in drama classes and in the band and in orchestra and the representative of the class, the senior vice president of the class, all those things. I was just always a very active person. When it was time for somebody to be in the newspaper, I was the one. So just always, as I would like to say now, I was in PR before I even knew what PR was, right? So I was a brand ambassador even before I knew what that really was. Um, I can't say that I really grew up with a whole lot of struggles per se. And if I did, I know that my mother just really made sure that my sister and I had a good life and that we had the things that we needed. And I thank her for that because even if I was young and we were struggling, she wouldn't have let me know. So I'm very grateful for my mom and all that she did and continues to do for my family. Um, Funny story that I do like to share real quick about destiny, because I do believe in the term destiny. So when I was a little girl, one of my fondest memories, I have actually a couple, but one in particular, the first time I won an award for my writing abilities and my communication skills, I was in kindergarten and I wrote a letter to Santa. And that letter earned me a VIP seat on Santa's choo choo train. So ever since then, I was all about that VIP lifestyle. So I brought my mom with me on the choo choo train. Fast forward a couple years later, I'm a little girl, maybe 10, 11 years old, and we're introduced to this young authors writing contest. So I enter into this writing contest. Everybody in my school pretty much had to write a story, but my story won. So my story was called No Way Out. And again, I'm a little girl, and I wrote this story that was empowering and inspiring about kids growing up in the projects that I never lived in. But I look at it now because I still have the original manuscript. And I feel like I was even then a little bit ahead of my time with wanting to empower and uplift people and encouraging them to go after their dreams. So I have this picture here because this this manuscript that I wrote, it earned me the opportunity to represent my school at Illinois State University for the Young Authors Contest. So I remember going to Illinois State University, and I remember saying to my mom, when I grow up, I want to go to school here. I want to go to college here. So I spoke it into existence as a little girl. Years later, I went there and got my bachelor's and my master's degree in communications.
Wow, wow, that is a wonderful story to tell. And again, people might hear that story, listening to this episode, and they may just, think, oh, that was just luck. That was just it. Just so happened that it worked out that way. And but one of the things that I know that you're very much aware of. As believers, we understand that these type of things are not accidents. That was a divine setup for what, like you said, you didn't know what it meant to be a PR person. You didn't know what branding meant. You didn't know what any of that stuff was, but it was all at that early of an age. It was already setting the table. God was already laying the plan out for you about what it exactly it was that you were going to be doing years later as you began to develop and grow and expand your mind in a variety of different activities and ways to where eventually you would catapult yourself into the ultimate space of what we call your calling, and doing the things that you're doing today. So I love hearing stories like that because again, I'm able to, and I didn't always see it like that, but in my spiritual growth and understanding, I began to recognize that no, this is a little bit more. There's a little bit more deeper layers to this than just a random story to tell about a kid who won a writing contest. I mean, the specifics of it, the even the prophetic nature of it, the claiming of the blessing in advance for you, and to ultimately go to the school that you present at, and like you said, and get your bachelor's and get your master's, and then of course I'm always celebrating, kids who grow up in single parent households. I grew up with a single mom, and we understand and recognize the sacrifices and the hard work and the commitment that goes with that when you're raised in that type of environment, even down to the point of if there was a struggle, the really solid single mothers out there, which they all are in their own unique way. Oftentimes one of the things that you find that's one of their greatest traits is making it look a lot easier than what it really is. So if it was a struggle, you probably didn't know it was a
Yes,
struggle, or if it was a struggle and you knew it,
that's
you didn't feel
it.
the weight of it the same way that you would have otherwise felt it, had it not been for that strong single mom, stepping up and doing her thing. So I love to hear that,
Yeah.
and just a
But
wonderful
shout out to
testament.
all of those moms.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know I love my mom to pieces. We were super close, and so I definitely admire and respect that journey. And clearly, you are a product of what it looks like, and you defy the odds. Because of course, in the worldly, according to the worldly standard, you're not supposed to make it. You're not supposed to get a bachelor's and a master's degree, and talking about doing visionary type works at this day and age. When you grew up in a single parent household, it was supposed to go a totally different direction for you, and one that wasn't positive in nature. But again, when God is in the midst of it, that story gets rewritten a completely different way. So, and you are a visual and living testimony of that. So that's awesome. That is awesome. And so as we move forward in your journey, of course, as you shared at the top of the show, you have your PR, your company, and I spoke about how you took a leap of faith early this year. You put it out on social media, in fact, about being on a job. You were with State Farm, for 18 years, and something about being on a job for a long period of time, having lots of accomplishments and successes and accolades that go along with it. But then you arrive at this point where, as much as you've enjoyed that career path, there's something that just keeps tugging at you that says there's more to life, than the position and the money and the bonuses and the accolades and all of that. And it's something that just won't go away until you act upon it. And so what I'm curious to know, just to hear, because I know I need to hear it, and I know others need to hear this, because I'm in a similar space right now where that calling is tugging at me in spite of a long standing career where I've had a lot of successes and a lot of accomplishments. And I'm curious to just hear from you, what was that journey like for you as you transitioned when you finally said, you know what, it's time to call this a career, and it's time for me to just go ahead and make that leap into being full-time entrepreneur minded visionary in my calling. Let's do it. Talk us through what that experience was like for you, and what ultimately signaled to you that now was the time to do it.
Yes, wow. That's a great question. Actually, I'm excited to answer that question because this is actually the first interview where I'm actually truly giving all the details. I've been blessed to be on some amazing radio stations in Dallas recently, and I gave a little taste of it, but to have the time to share a little bit more. So I'm a very transparent person right now, Joseph, in this season. I may say some things that others may not um, agree with, in a positive way, though, however, because I'm still transitioning, I would like to say, right? So, as you mentioned, I was with a Fortune 50 company for 18 years. And I'm going to say this publicly, I'll say it privately. I loved the company that I worked for. I have so much respect for that company, so much. It was rewarding. it blessed me and my family tremendously. That company was the catapult that actually brought me to Dallas. And then to go back to the story of destiny, when I was a little girl who won that young authors contest, the event was in the same town where my corporate headquarters was located. So
Mm.
just look at how all that just works itself out. So um 18 years I was working in public affairs and corporate responsibility. I mean, I had some dream roles and I loved it, but I also always had that pulling that I wanted to do more, that pulling where I got to a point where I was, as I like to say, on the side, I was growing and birthing my communications and PR firm, Tierra PR Network. So I had some very significant opportunities where I worked on some major civil rights and social justice and high profile cases as the PR director. I had several opportunities that I would consider to be very noteworthy while also working my corporate career. So I found myself at times, being hidden in one area. It was a lot, but I thank God for allowing me to navigate as I was, you know, doing work on the side while also working and also making sure that I never, um, working with integrity as well, I guess I would like to say.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to a point where I was like, man, I want to see what it's like to do this full time, right? And then, but it was years coming. It wasn't just the overnight thing. You know, I feel like I was had an entrepreneurial mindset when I was a little girl, right? So it was just something that I was becoming more curious about. I felt like I could really be successful, you know. But I will be very honest with people. It has been challenging, very challenging, because when I made that decision, I prayed on it. Um, I felt the timing was right, but then I didn't know if it was right. And when I didn't feel it was right, I didn't jump. I didn't care. I had people in my ear telling me, "Oh, jump, Tiara, you're ready. You got this. Jump." I didn't really need to hear from them. And I hope I'm encouraging somebody when I speak with this level of transparency. When it's time to jump, if it's time to jump, that needs to be between you and God. There will be people in your ear who will tell you, go, go, you got this. And you need to tell every one of them, I want you to take a sheet of paper and I want you to write down their names. And you tell them, okay, well, when I jump, can I call on you if it gets hard? When I jump, will you be around when I need this support? And I'm not saying I need you to just shoot me a text and say, how you doing? Financial support. So those are the types of things, excuse me, those are the types of things that people need to think about. And it needs to be between you and God. Because one thing that I do think about, again, I'm being transparent. Sometimes I even question, was the timing right? Right? Because we can have an amazing vision. Everything can be very clear to us, but it's timing. And sometimes we get a little ahead of it because we're excited. Oh my God, this is perfect. But make sure you know that you know that you know that you know. And this is the most challenging part of faith, is when to know when to swing the bat. Because if you swing too soon, okay, you might hit it. You might strike out. You might not. If you swing too slow, you don't want to get too far behind God. So it's the timing, and that is something that we will never know on our own. That's when it really takes a strong relationship with God. So I say that to say I jumped when I felt it was the time to jump. But not only did I jump, and some people don't know this, I didn't just jump to be a full time entrepreneur to run my business, Tierra PR Network, and to run my nonprofit. I also opened a venue, and I'm inside of it right now. I opened a 3,200 square foot venue that I call the Tierra PR Network headquarters. So not only did I go from corporate America to now I'm running this business, now I have a venue that I'm managing. I'm paying rent. I need people in the building. So that's another thing. So I just want to throw that out there that it wasn't that she jumped to be PR woman. She jumped PR woman and also managed the venue. And it has been challenging and very rewarding at the same time.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and again the transparency with that, because there's a lot of people out here, and I want to make sure that I'm making the distinction. There's a whole bunch of people who start businesses, but just because you start businesses and become a quote unquote business owner, that is not the same as an entrepreneur. Because when you're an entrepreneur, it's a higher level. As an entrepreneur, you have been presented a vision, and that's why when I've had opportunities to speak to, up and coming entrepreneurs, and I'm one of those up and coming entrepreneurs, I've said to those individuals, this is a divine assignment. Everybody can't be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And the thing that's challenging about being an
Yes.
entrepreneur is that the vision that comes with it, regardless of what field of work that you're in, the vision that comes with it, oftentimes because of its divine nature, is going to be huge. It's going to be a huge undertaking, which means that if you are working that traditional 9 to 5 job, no matter how long you've been there and how great it's been for you, there comes a point, and this is where that timing comes in. There comes a point where, as you're building that vision, you're building that work towards that vision, you're going to reach a climax where it's clear that in order for me to keep this thing rolling forward, I can't do both. At some point, I'm going to have to pick, am I going to stay within my comfort zone, where I know every 2 weeks the check drops in the account for this amount of money and it covers my needs or whatever? Or do I take that leap of faith where I don't really know the specifics as far as, whether it's financial support, whether it's just people just there to encourage and uplift and support you. I don't know any of those things. But what I also tell people is that, and this is a challenge. It's not an easy thing to do, but we have to get to a point of understanding that I may not know all the details. I may not know how all of it's going to lay out and play out. But as long as I know who's running the show, then that should be enough for me. So in this case, when it's a vision, when it's divine, when it's coming from God, if I'm really believing what I say I believe, that he's going to be my provider, he's going to be my supplier, he's going to meet my needs, he's going to do all of these things. If I really truly believe that, then he's not only going to let me know when it's time to move, but when I do make that move, I don't have to worry about if everything's going to work out all right. He doesn't have to give me the blow by blow, point by point detail that a lot of times we're looking for, in that regard. So I want the audience, of course, to be mindful of that, that it's so necessary for you to understand that when you are presented with a vision, it is a divine action that's taking place in your life, and you don't want to ignore it. You don't want to dismiss it. You want to be mindful of the fact that a vision is going to call for you to make sacrifices. It's going to call for you to really and truly pour in ways that are going to be, causing you to stretch a bit outside of your comfort zone. It's going to cause you to think outside the box, to be creative, to be innovative. And so, but again, if God is in it, if he's a part of that business model, as he should be, you are going to realize magnificent, great, wonderful successes that are going to be beyond not only your imagination, but it's going to blow away the minds of others who are on the sidelines watching you. Some of those individuals may be actively involved in supporting and encouraging you, while others are just going to be sitting back watching. And sometimes that can be a little disheartening, especially when it's family and friends that you wish were a little bit more actively involved and supportive. And unfortunately, not everybody's going to be that. Nobody's going to all be in the cheerleader circle for you and supporting you and cheering you along. Some of them are just kind of waiting to see, whether it's waiting to see if you fail, or whether it's waiting to see if there seems to be some movement going on with the works that you're doing. And if so, then maybe then they may decide that they want to jump on board to be of help, to be of support. And again, you just have to ask God for the appropriate discernment to know who's genuinely wanting to be a part of your journey versus those individuals who, may just be getting on board because now they see an opportunity to be self-serving. And so I have great respect for, the Tierras of the world who take that leap of faith and go all in into their calling, because it's definitely something that, when that vision is placed on your heart, you want to be fulfilled. You kind of, even if you've enjoyed your job and you've loved the work that you've done and everything, there's just something that sometimes can tug at you that says it's not enough. And it's nothing against the job. It's more about the vision. It's more about the fact that God is trying to fill in an empty void that's within you. He's trying to ignite that gift that's within you and saying to you, hey, you've done your work in this particular space, on this particular platform. Job well done. It's now time to level it up. It's now time to reach a new set of people, a new audience, a new crowd that needs to hear your message, that needs to be the beneficiary of your services and your products, or whatever the situation is that you have before you that God has gifted in you. So it's just an awesome and wonderful thing to be a part of such a thing. So, please, listeners, as you're listening to Tiara's story and you're hearing, my response on this, understand that this is a journey, but it's a journey that's definitely well worth it to be on. And Tiara's, again, is just a wonderful example of what that journey has been like for her. And she still has wonderful and magnificent works that she's in the process of doing. And you just got to appreciate her transparency and just saying, hey, this didn't happen overnight. I just didn't wake up one morning and just say, I'm going to do my own business. I'm going to leave my job and just jump into this. And I'm not going to sit here in front, like, even though I have this, for those who haven't had a chance to see it, I have this beautiful venue and I got this great work and great vision. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every day is easy, because it's not. And it's not supposed to be, because the same work, the same pressures that had to be on you to strengthen you, to mold you, to shape you into becoming the person that you are at this point are going to be the same pressures that are going to have to continue to come along as you grow and as you level up and do greater and more magnificent works. And that's exactly what Tiara is doing. So, so it's this is definitely a phenomenal story that she's sharing with us. And I surely am so thankful that she's aboard here to tell it with us. So that's awesome. That's awesome. I see you got yourself back in the mix. So I held it down while you were while you were working through your camera. We're good. Can you hear me okay, Tiara? Okay, so Tiara's still working out her network issues on her end for the sound. But again, Tiara's just doing an awesome and wonderful thing while she navigates through this journey.
I'm so
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Go ahead. No, absolutely. You're fine. You're fine. I kept the audience informed about,
Okay. You know what?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I was I was about to say some things that I think was this disconnection is probably happening for that reason.
It's okay. We are going to work, as we said at the top of the hour, and I want our audience to know. I'm gonna be transparent for a moment. When you're doing this type of work with this podcast, where it's about empowering and encouraging and uplifting, you have to understand that there are forces, there are people who don't want these stories told, who don't want these messages sent out, and this is an example of that. And so technology is going to be technology. Sometimes there'll be a glitch here, a blurb there, and we're okay with that. We're going to get this message out. Trust and believe. You are not going to be disappointed. You're not going to be left out of the messaging that we're going to share today. So we're working through it. We just ask you to be patient with us, but trust and believe. You're in the right place at this time, listening to this episode, hearing this story, because it's a story that needs to be told, and we're going to tell it no matter what forces, no matter what people are trying to stop us from telling it. It's going to get told. Trust and believe that. So no apologies needed on your end, Tiara. Technology is technology, but we're working through it. Are you able to hear me okay now?
I can hear
All
you.
right, all right. And if you want to add on to what, I know you were in the middle of saying something before you had your camera go out momentarily. Please feel free to pick up where you left off. I think before you had dropped off, you were sharing with us just, again, the transparency of the fact that, this is not an overnight thing. This is a big decision that you had to make, and there are challenges, and people are going to be in your ear and telling you, oh, you should do it. You can make it. I believe in you and all of that good stuff. And that's great words to hear. But you also like to know that when it is time to call on people, when it is time to lean into people for that help and the support, that backs up all of those encouraging words that they said, will those individuals still be there? And as I was sharing with the audience while you were away, was that sometimes Some of those people will be, and then sometimes some of those people will be in the backdrop, not to be seen, not to be heard from, and unfortunately, in some instances, some are actually waiting to see it all fall apart. But you have to continue to fight that good fight. You have to continue to work through it, understanding that, again, God is in control at the end of the day. And as long as you're leaning into Him for the direction and the understanding and the guidance, everything is going to work itself out okay.
Yes, and can you hear me okay?
I can. I can.
Good. So, oh, I had some great things I was in the middle of saying because I wanted to bless and help a lot of people. I just want to add to that. It's also not about the people, and I gave that as one example. But the real question is, how are we showing up along the entrepreneurial journey? So I just want to add that clarity that is one piece, and I said that jokingly, yes, seriously, but it's to say that you still have to know that when you're going to make that jump or whatever it might be in life, that yeah, okay, you can consult with people and you may get a lot of great verbal support and whatever kind of support, but it doesn't end there. It's not about the other people, right? It's about you, your journey, and what you feel God is leading you to do. But then the other piece, and I think the main piece, is how are you showing up to the assignment? And
Mm,
that is something that I am being um just very vulnerable about, because yes, I was excited, like I'm jumping, I'm doing this, and then there was a period, Joseph, I could not show up. I was dealing with imposter syndrome. What am I doing? Why did I just leave my career? What am I doing thinking I can have my own PR business? Why do I have this huge venue? So that is where I think that the true story begins for people as they go along their journey. How are you going to handle the opportunity? How are you going to walk into your purpose? How are you going to get your mindset ready for this endeavor? And I mean, we can even think about stories in the Bible where the assignment was great. And even the people who were assigned to the assignment questioned it. So I just want to just make sure that I make that very clear, that it's how are we showing up?
absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm glad you pointed that out because, while the vision is great and God will, be more than willing to share that vision with you as He senses that you're ready to receive it and be exposed to all that it has to offer, at the end of the day, He'll make the promise that I'll be with you. I'll walk with you. I'll guide you. I'll give you the steps that you need to make along the way to make this vision become a true reality. But at the end of the day, you got to put in some work. This is not just about you rubbing on a lamp and making a wish or, or sitting on Santa Claus lap and asking to deliver the gift. You have to work for it. You have to put in the effort. Just everything just like you do with anything else in life to accomplish, to be successful, to achieve, you got to put in some work in that. And if you put in the work, if you maintain that consistency, if you will, in what it is that you're doing, and you believe that this is something that can manifest itself to be everything that God has put in the vision for it to be, that's when He loves to just step in and do His thing. The parts of it that you can't do, that is beyond your control, that is beyond your capabilities, but He's partnering up with you in a mighty and magnificent way. And that's what makes your works become so phenomenal, so successful, so impactful for those whose lives you are impacting as a result of doing the work. So I'm so
Yes.
glad that you pointed that out because it's
Yeah.
so necessary for,
and,
for
and
us to
there's
understand.
even and there's even more to that. Like I say, I just want to be so, I want to bless people, because that is so great to hear. But there are some people who are walking in it, and that's not what they're experiencing. And I'm gonna
Hmm.
say why. And these were things that I didn't know along my journey, because I didn't hear people saying this during interviews. I didn't hear people on panels saying the various levels of this, because of course everybody's journey is different, and a lot of people, they are excited to share the beautiful parts of it, and the
Hmm.
beautiful parts is what have people out there jumping and jumping, and then not knowing how to stay where they are, and people are willing to commit suicide, and people are depressed and stressed because they're going off of the beautiful stories that they're hearing. But I just want to set the tone that this journey can be very challenging even for the strongest person, because along the journey, and if God is really calling you to do certain things, there may be certain aspects that he has to work with us on. So, hey, you want to make 1 million, but maybe God is like, okay, we got you. This is along the journey, but guess what? Let me work with you on your finances. Maybe you're not disciplined enough in the finances right now. You want to be a millionaire, multi-millionaire, six, seven, eight figure entrepreneur, but you're struggling with how to maintain $100 bill, $1,000 bill. You don't have your accounting worked out. You don't have bookkeeping skills. So let me work with you in this area that might feel painful, dreadful. You may feel like God is not even with you, but now he's testing you. He's preparing you. He's transitioning you. And there might be other areas. Someone may say, well, my calling is to help um struggling women. And while you're doing that, your life is great. But maybe you have to go through an experience where you're
Mm,
almost about to deal with homelessness. Or maybe you're about to wonder where your next meal is coming from or your next paycheck. So I say that because those are the pieces of a journey that people may not talk about. But if God is really about to catapult you from the caterpillar to the butterfly to go flying and soaring, you may have to go through some experiences. And you're like, what in the world? Everybody that I heard on those podcasts didn't talk about this. They
mm,
talked about how great it was. They didn't tell me that during their journey to greatness, they were struggling. They wanted to turn around. They said, I want to give up. So that's the part that I want to make sure is very clear. You may still go through some struggles, but it's only to prepare you and to position you to make a bigger impact.
absolutely. And I so love that you said that. And and I appreciate that. I appreciate that hearing from you as an entrepreneur, because I'm certain that as you present your works to other people who come for your services, that you keep it real with them like that. You tell them the truth. You don't sit there and and hold whether it's hosting podcasts or webinars or other lives out there where you got people getting all hyped up and excited, only showing them the shiny and pretty part of it and
Mm,
not giving them the grind part out of it, the part of it that hurts a little bit, that stings a little bit, that they really
yes.
need to know
Yes.
to fully appreciate and embrace the journey that they're about to embark on.
Yes.
Yeah, you can share with them what the benefit of it is on the backside, but we cannot continue to be out here dismissing the journey part of it, because the journey
Yes.
is what makes us who we are. We go through what we go through. A lot of times we may feel some kind of way about it. It's frustrating. It's inconvenient. It doesn't feel good, and we get that. We're human beings, and we're entitled to be able to have those emotions. But we have to understand that if God allowed that to come into our lives, and knowing the God that He is, and that He's not about hurting and
Yes.
harming and torturing people. If He's
Yes.
allowing that thing to come through, we actually should be celebrating it, because even
Yes.
though it's not going to feel good,
Yes.
for a season,
Yes.
we know that if He let it come through, He's setting us up for something, and it's not for
Yes.
something bad. It's for something good. So it's kind of like if I'm not a big fan of exercise, and but I understand that if I commit to that yeah, I may be sore from doing the running and the lifting and all of that. But I know that people who've gone through that, in the end, those who stay consistent with that and went through the growing pains and the aches and the soreness, they saw the results of what that
Yes.
looked like. So it's the same concept as
Yep.
you move forward in your entrepreneurial journeys, and God has put this big vision in front of you. The vision is the end result, but there's a journey that leads you up to it. And that's where, like you said, there are going to be some days that feel real nice and smooth and lovely, and sparkly and shiny. And then there's going to be those days where you're going to struggle just to get up out the bed. You're not going to
Yes.
feel like it, but you're going to need to feel like it anyway. You're going to want to give up, but you're going to need to continue to fight anyway,
Yes.
because you understand the impact, you understand the magnitude of what this assignment is that has been placed in your lap specifically for you.
Yes.
Because everybody can't do what God placed in your lap for you to do. So If it was just something he just randomly put out there, then it would just be a shop that everybody can just show up to and just pick whatever vision that they wanted, and and just keep trying them until they found one that they enjoyed the most. That's not how it works. And oftentimes that vision is going to include, I'm saying oftentimes, pretty much all the time, there's going to be an element to the vision that is going to take you completely outside of what your normal comfort zone is, what your normal place of ease is, and that's on purpose. Because to get
Yeah.
that greatness out of you, to get the best out of you, it requires us to be stretched. It
Yes.
requires us it requires us to have those moments of isolation. It requires us to have those moments of where everything just sort of gets blown up in our
Mm.
faces, so to speak. Sometimes that's how God has to get our attention. Let me just blow this up for you, so you can get so humbled, if you will, to where you
Yes.
have no choice but to pay attention to him
That's it.
and follow his lead. And that's a good thing. It doesn't feel good, but it's really a good thing, because when you start to open up your eyes and your ears and your heart to what he has to say, and you're like, man, I've been blowing you off and ignoring you all this time, and you were trying to show me the blessing that's been right before me all this time. Now I see it. Now I receive it. Now I'm ready to put in the work.
That's it.
And again, you know that you can go through that journey and you don't have to do it by yourself. That's that's
Mhm.
that's what's even special to as well. It's just knowing that even if I don't have physical bodies around me, if I'm not getting those phone calls or those texts or those other words or spirit of encouragement around me, I know I have him. If
Yes.
he's a part of my vision, if I've included him in this, then I'm on a path. It's going to work. There's no doubt about it. It's going to work. I'm going to make it. I'm going to be okay. And this is going to be a great, breakthrough, if you will, with the assignment that is being granted before me. So great stuff, Tiara. Great stuff, and I'm so glad that you're breaking this down like you have been, and this is going to bless somebody. I'm being blessed as we're talking about it, just in the moments. I know listeners are going to be blessed that tune into this. They need to hear this, and because it's so impactful and so necessary for us to understand, what it means to operate in your calling and embracing that journey that comes along with it. So Tara, if you would, again, as we're going through our journeys of life, there's going to come a point, along the way where you're going to face some things that they're going to be a little bit heavier, a little bit burdensome upon you in a way that you might actually start to question at some point, how am I going to make it through this? This is a little bit much. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through. And so, what I would like for you to do, if you would, please share with us about a time when you found yourself in that type of situation where you didn't know if you were going to get through it. You didn't know if you were going to overcome it, whatever that situation is. But you're here today, obviously, standing tall, standing strong, able to actually tell the story. What would that story be, and how did you manage to work your way through it?
That's good. And still making sure you can hear me okay.
I can.
So I really thought about. I'm thinking about that, and I knew you were going to probably ask a question like that, right? Because that's a good question to ask. And I I thought about a time years ago when I was working and kind of in that space of transition, and found myself going through a storm. That's an example I can give, but I just wrote that in a that's in a book that's coming out soon. It's an anthology, so I'm gonna skip that story, right?
All right.
Because I want to talk about my right now,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I'm experiencing right now, and in particular, I'll even say just in August of 2023. um I really, really, really was brewing in a storm, and it was that storm that we just kind of talked a little bit about, where you're doubting yourself, you're doubting the decisions, you know, you're being stretched, and that was what my August looked like, and I'm being, I'm excited to say that now we're in September, but August. August was challenging. August was the most challenging month of my life, and um it was pivotal because it's when I said, okay, the rubber is now meeting the road. This is where the saying, this is not for the faint at heart. This is where people will encourage you to keep pushing, because that's what August was that for me. And when I, on the last day of August, I treated it like it was New Year's Eve. I literally treated it like it was New Year's Eve because I said, August sat me down. It put me under. It made me question every decision that I made. August even, I'm going to be real, August even had me calling my old job back saying, hey,
Mm.
I want to come back. I don't want this anymore, right? But God has a sense of humor because I was getting ready to get on a call with someone, and I remember I was praying, and I walked into the room where I was about to take my call, and I stepped on something that was on the floor. And I have to give this example to say how real this got. There was a, I guess I'll say, uh, an ornament per se that was in a candle. Somehow this ornament came off the candle, which was on the wall, was on the floor, and there was two very sharp prongs in this ornament, which stuck the ornament to the candle. When I walked in the room to get ready for my call to talk about the possibilities of going back into corporate America, I stepped on it. The entire thing, at least 2 inches, went into my foot. Two
Mm.
sides. It was the two pronged piece, went into my foot. I had to pull it out of my foot in agony and in pain. I got ready to get on the call to talk about possibly going back into corporate America. Now, we don't take signs like that for a
Hmm.
reason. We're
Hmm.
asking God, order my steps. And here I am stepping on something that told me that ain't the right step. Okay. We're not gonna
Mm-hmm.
take that step. But the point is, I treated the last few hours of August, and I said, nah, I gotta push through. I have to push through. Nothing I've been doing has been in vain. There are lives that need to be impacted. Get it together. So I took those last hours of August. I prayed my way through. I went in my prayer closet. I rebuked the enemy. I read my Bible verses. I went to sleep every night since then, and I'll meditate. I'll have just spiritual and inspiring uh YouTube videos playing in the background while I'm sleeping. And so I made a decision that this is a challenging time along my journey, and it doesn't catch some people by surprise, because I told a few people, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, you're supposed to be going through that right now. But again, everybody's journey is different. But I made an intentional decision to say, get up, get back on track. And I prayed. I said, God, if I did something that got me off track, if I did something that got me out of alignment with the will that you have for my life, I plead and I beg of you that you help me get back on track. Because it's easy to get off track. It's easy to lean on our own understanding. But in all our ways, we ask him, we acknowledge him, and he will make the path straight. So that is just a recent example that I want to share, and
Hmm.
I hope that somebody is inspired by that. I don't care where you are along your journey, whether it's, I don't even care if you're an entrepreneur, you're in corporate America, you're not working at all, you're a mom, you're a dad, whatever you're doing along your journey, you're a student. It is never too late to pause and say, I don't know if I'm on track right now, and I want to get back in alignment. And that's where I am right now.
Awesome, awesome, and I again, transparency. I appreciate that, and I just love the fact that I've asked this question numerous times to other guests, and to speak to something that was just that fresh, that recent, that relevant in your life, where you, like you said, you were on the verge of looking to possibly go back to the familiar, and
Yes.
then you have this moment of stepping on something, and it poking you in a way that
Yes.
that was like, okay, somebody trying to get, was this again, and I don't take it lightly as that was an accident. We can surely say that things sometimes happen, they drop on the floor or what have you, but I'm just I I get, all I can say is that I can't. It's not something that I heard. It's something that I know. God will, in His own unique and miraculous ways, He will speak to us, even if it's stepping on something to remind us, hey, don't you dare,
Yes.
venture backwards. I've delivered you from that.
Mm,
We're forward progressing. We are. There's a new level. You've already accomplished what you needed to accomplish on that level. There's no need to turn around to that. And so, just to be reminded of that, even if it's just it's almost like somebody pinching you, like, hey,
yep.
don't you do that.
Yes.
And the fact that you knew what that was in that moment, I'm sure you probably had some other choice words at the moment when you stepped on it, but again, it's just how God moves, and I'm speaking to it as if that's exactly what was happening in that moment, to keep you from, hey, don't be so quick to give up. It's gonna be okay. I know it's tough right now.
Yes.
I know it's stressful. It's a lot of pressure. It's a big responsibility on your shoulders. But I didn't bring you this far to leave you.
That's it.
I didn't bring you this far to leave you. So I'm glad that, God in His own infinite wisdom reminded you of that. And you haven't given up the vision. You haven't given up the work, and you're pressing through. You're persevering. You're fighting the good fight. So and
That's
that's what's
it.
important for people to understand.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, one of the things I wanted to ask you, which I think you spoke to it a little bit, was like when you find yourself facing challenging times, adverse moments, whether it's something big or even if it's something very small, what is it that you like to do that kind of helps you process those moments when you're faced with a challenging situation? What is sort of your routine that you like to follow that seems to work for you in being able to navigate those moments?
Yes. So I believe that words are powerful. And that's not just because I'm in PR and communications, but I really do believe that words are powerful. And so I, for me, I have to get in the mirror. I have to speak life over myself. Even as I mentioned earlier, we think about, oh, we need to help and support. No, no, no. Get in alignment, talk to yourself, right? Speak life over yourself. And then also, I believe in and just pausing and listening to empowering, inspiring words and videos, I'm sorry, listening to inspiring words where people are encouraging us. So YouTube is my friend. And whether that's listening to Bishop T.D. Jakes, Pastor Sarah Jakes, Pastor Freddie Haynes, whoever it might be. And I tell people too, I need to listen to some Rick Ross every blue moon. So whatever it takes that will get you that energy back, that momentum back, because that's what it takes. And so I'll tell you, that's what helps me. And also the other piece of that is sometimes you have to cut off the energy or negativity that you
Mm,
can't entertain in that moment. Because if you're focused and you're getting your mindset right, sometimes you have to just say, you know what, I really can't take in anything right now. I know everybody's lifing right now. Everybody's dealing with problems right now. And if you're not dealing with the problem, somebody attached to you is probably dealing with the problem. So sometimes we just have to be so focused that, you know what, like when you're on a plane, they tell you take care of yourself first, real quick. Take care of yourself
mm-hmm.
real quick. Then you can help everybody else. So that's what helps me is just getting my mindset back right. And I like to sometimes I'll tell people, man, I gotta get Tiara back, right? Because when Tiara's back, Tiara's smiling, Tiara's excited, Tiara's loud. And I also know when I'm not feeling like Tiara, and that's okay too. But those are the things that help me get Tiara back. And then you might see me post something on social media, and everybody getting excited, and that's when I
Mm-hmm.
get excited because I feel like, yeah, girl, you're back walking in your purpose. Keep going.
Love that. Love that. Very out of the box thinking. You didn't give us the politically correct answer. Oh, I just turn on my gospel music and nothing against that. Oh, I just go into my
Yes,
prayer closet and I just
yes,
get on
and
my
I do
knees
that
and
too.
and we know that you do that. But you said, sometime I might just have to, crank up some Rick Ross. I might just have to listen to some inspirational messaging or whatever, no matter where it's coming from. If it's inspirational, if it's inspiring, if it gets my energy going, that's what I tap into. But I love also the fact that you said, but I also recognize the need. I got to disconnect for some stuff, whether it's temporarily or maybe permanently. I need to get away from that negativity, that bringing you down type of energy, because that's contradictory to what I'm trying to do and where I'm trying to go. And so to be able to recognize that as a sign of, again, a sign of growth, a sign of discipline on your part, and recognizing what is healthy for you and what's not healthy for you. That's the whole spirit of self-care. And that's basically
Absolutely.
what you were speaking to in that moment.
Yeah. And
So,
removing noise, because how
yes,
can we really hear from God when we're hearing all this noise? Social media is noise. The news is noise. So sometimes, not just sometimes, all the time, when we're in that space or in that funk or in that challenging season, there's a source, but we got to tap in and we got to be able to hear.
absolutely. 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 So, if you had an opportunity to speak to the younger version of yourself, or just to speak to people who are just going through not knowing how to handle adversity, how to handle in challenging moments and times, if you were able to sum that up in, in a couple of words, a few words, as to what would be the nuggets of wisdom summed up in a few words that you would share with them that they need to embrace if they are to do a better job at being able to handle those challenging and trying times of life, so that instead of allowing such moments to consume them, they're actually able to withstand the hit and actually able to persevere and fight through it, to be able to see another day and to see another opportunity to be great, to be better, to build upon themselves in a positive and an influential type of way. What would those few words be that you would share to the younger you, or somebody that's like in that situation right now?
I would say love. And I wear this hat for a reason. I would say love. Love yourself. Love yourself during whatever challenges you are facing in life. Love yourself, believe in yourself, give yourself grace, give yourself mercy, and love the journey. Because sometimes, and I would tell little Tiara this: be a little girl a little longer, work
Hmm.
that job in corporate America a little longer. Hold on to those dreams and enjoy the journey. Because when you get so caught up in a wanting what we see as the end result, it's not a sprint. So don't be so quick to, oh, I want that. Oh, I see the vision. Let me go get it. Now I understand why God gives bits and pieces. Because guess what? Along the way, spring is gone, summer is gone. Are you still enjoying and loving on your friends, your family? Are you still traveling? Are you still doing the things you love to do? Or are you so focused on that goal? So love yourself, love the journey, and love the moments you're in.
Hmm.
Slow down, slow down.
Yes, yes, that's powerful. Love. I mean, it's a simple four-letter word, but it packs so much into it, and you couldn't have said it any better. And if, like I said, and if we break it down spiritually, I mean, God is love, so it's connect with that. Be all about what that is, and what that relationship means. Love. That's beautiful. I love that you said that. That's
Yes.
awesome. So before I let you go, I do want to, of course, have an opportunity to again love on you, to affirm you, to celebrate everything that you're about and what you're doing. So if you would, please share with the audience if there's anything that we need to know about, any new happenings that are going on, some things that we need to, like, again, celebrate and lift up on your behalf, and check in with you to get more information about, get connected with. What you got going on, Tiara, that we need to be connected and knowing about? What's in store for you?
Yes, well, thank you. This has been great. Thank you, Joseph. And you notice that once I got through all the things I had to say, now the video is
Oh,
fine, the
absolutely.
audio is fine.
We
You see how the enemy
we
works?
that exactly. Once he knew we wasn't gonna give up, we weren't gonna.
Listen,
Oh, let's just cut it off. Let's just stop and
listen.
try again. No, we hung in there, and boom,
We
here we are,
keep
smooth
pushing.
sailing to the end. This is
There's an
this has been
example
the
in your
message all
face
along. Yes,
all along.
yes.
So I would say, first of all, thank you all for listening. Thank you, Joseph, for the opportunity. I would love for you all to follow me and not just follow me. Let's go along this journey together because I want to also go along your journey with you. So you can find me on social media. On Facebook, it's Tierra M. Tucker. On Instagram, it is Tierra M. Tucker _empowers. And from there, you'll see the links to my other social media platforms. There's the Tierra PR Network on Instagram. There's Tierra Headquarters on Instagram. So I would love for you all to follow that, because that's where you can see all the exciting and empowering and amazing things taking place right here in the Tierra PR Network headquarters in North Dallas. And also, you can go to my website, tierraprnetwork.com, and that's where you can learn more about what I'm doing with Tierra PR Network, what I'm doing with the venue, and then also anything else that might be coming. Other than that, just follow me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, Tierra M. Tucker, and I'm gonna also throw this out there. Shoot me an email, Tierra M. Tucker at tierraprnetwork.com, because again, we don't have to go along these journeys alone. Um, it's intended for us to connect with other people. So I'm here if you all want to connect. And if you heard something that you liked and you want to talk about a little bit more, let's talk about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Again, fighting through all of the little technical, whatnots that was trying to shut this party down today, but we weren't having it. We had a message, we had a story to tell, and I knew from the start that you were going to do just that. And I'm so thankful that we had the fortitude to hang in and keep pushing through and fighting through. We made it through the finish line. The message has been said. The message has been spoken. I've been blessed, and there are going to be others who are listening to the podcast as well that are going to be blessed. So thank you so much for pouring into us and being transparent as you were in sharing your journey. And for those who have had the opportunity to listen to this podcast episode, if you've enjoyed what you've listened to, if you've been blessed by it, please do subscribe, please share, please comment, please tell others about this, because this is what the Blessings in the Streets podcast is all about: empowering, encouraging, uplifting, inspiring. We want to take our stories, we want to be transparent as we can be as vulnerable as we can be, to just keep it real with you and letting you know that we all go through our respective storms and challenges of life, but that's not the end of the story. That's not how it has to be. And we have to embrace that journey for the highs of it, as well as the lows of it. Take it all in. Love the journey, as Tierra spoke to us. Love it all. Take it all in, because God is love, and understand what that relationship means and why it's so important for you to have it. You were not meant to do life alone. You were not meant to go through your journeys in life alone, to deal with all of the challenges and experiences that you go through alone. He is there for us. He wants to build that relationship with us. He wants to just show us everything that life has to offer, so that we can not only be a blessing to others, but to receive the blessings that he has for us. So with that said, just keep in mind, here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is the place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and where your journey is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, God bless. Take care of yourself. Continue to fight that good fight. Keep your head up. Embrace the journey, love the journey, and love on you. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you next time.